The sounds from the playgrounds of this province haven't been the same since COVID-19 struck. And even before that, according to a new report, not all was well with the spaces designated for kids to play. With us to explain, Kelly Gallagher-Mackay. She is one of the authors of that study. It's called Schoolyards Count: How Ontario Schoolyards Measure Up for Health, Physical Activity and Environmental Learning. She's an assistant professor in the Law and Society program at Wilfrid Laurier University's Brantford campus, and she joins us now from her office on campus. Kelly, it's good to have you on again. How are you?
Hi, I'm glad to talk to you today.
As am I. Well, you've written this report about schoolyard playground quality, and I guess for starters, why did you think this subject needed tackling in the first place?
Well, there's been a lot in the news over the years about playground quality. You listen to any school council meeting, any conversation around parents, and they're always talking about their kids' playground. And there's a lot of concern about fundraising and playground quality. So I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to get a sort of systematic look at the quality of Ontario playgrounds? And I reached out to OFEA, the Ontario Physical Health and Education Association, to ask if they'd be interested in partnering with me about this, because we know that playgrounds are an essential part of a healthy school. And they were keen, so we launched this citizen science project.
Well, let me follow up on that, because when we tend to think about the importance of education, we tend to think about what goes on inside the buildings, not outside. Why is what goes on outside important as well?
Well, in Ontario, we have two key objectives for our school system. One is achievement and learning, and the other is physical well-being, or well-being, physical, mental, and other kinds. And schoolyards have a key role to play in terms of promoting physical activity. There's a great big body of public health research that says better schoolyard quality correlates strongly to more active kids. They're also kind of a critical place for kids to learn about the environment and to do a bunch of sort of unstructured social emotional learning. We know recess matters a lot. There's growing research on that. So it was worth asking, what kind of opportunities are we providing for well-being in our schoolyards?
And one of your conclusions is, quote, the quality of Ontario schoolyards is middling at best. What does that mean?
Well, so we did this systematic measurement of schoolyards. We used a tool that some kinesiologists had developed and that's been used all over the world to systematically look at a whole bunch of features associated with schoolyard quality. And schools could score anywhere from -8 to 88 on our scale. Halfway point, 73% of schools were lower than the halfway point on our scale. That means that, the highest scoring school was 61, and most schools were well below 40.
Do you, well, I don't want to put you in an odd spot, but I am curious. Do you want to say what the worst schoolyard in the whole province was?
Nope.
I didn't think so, but,
We didn't ask. We wanted people to give us a system-wide look. We think it's important to put the focus on the system because there aren't any minimum standards for schoolyards in this province. We did see differences, big differences between communities. Did you know Sudbury has really quite great schoolyards despite not being the richest community we looked at?
I do know that because I read your report.
Yeah, so we saw a bunch of differences, but our focus is really on the system and the provincial government that has a responsibility to fund healthy schoolyards, healthy schools, and maybe we need to look seriously at figuring out what is the minimum. Because when we think about schoolyards, it's shocking to learn that like 10% of Ontario schoolyards don't have a field. 16% don't have courts for games like basketball. And in elementary schools, 13% of them, no play equipment whatsoever. And a lot of them don't have those sort of fancy multi-component things with slides and climbers all built in, almost a quarter. And when we asked people, after they'd gone and counted all the different pieces, overall, what's your assessment about whether this schoolyard is suitable for play? Fully a quarter of them, of our auditors, and those were just members of communities using our tool, fully a quarter of them said these schoolyards aren't suitable for play. And that is crazy. We've got 300 odd kids on average in an elementary school who are pretty much a captive audience. There's a lot we can do to help improve physical activity, and schoolyards are a piece of that puzzle, along with adequate supervision and maybe some facilitation of games and stuff like that.
When you talk unsuitable for play, this might be one of the reasons why, and I'm going to ask our director, Sheldon Osmond, to bring this chart up now because, and again, this is from your report, and for those listening on podcast, we got a pie chart here, and it's about a third, a third, a third. And we're talking about the proportion of schools with paved surfaces, paving. And you've got about a third, actually, if you add them both up, you've got about 2/3 of the playgrounds in this province that have anywhere from 30 to 50% of their playgrounds with paved surfaces. And I guess if Jerry Seinfeld were
30
here...
30 or more percent, yeah.
Yeah, and so if
Only
Jerry Seinfeld were
has
here...
less than 30% paved.
Yeah, if Jerry Seinfeld were here, he would say, what's the deal with all this concrete in our playgrounds?
Yeah, well, I think maybe it was seen as easier or cleaner, but it's terrible from an environmental perspective. The place that schoolyards did the worst in our study was environmental promotion. We have very little shade in our schoolyards. We have a ton of pavement. And when we're thinking climate change, this is big public space, which is both a place for kids to learn about the environment, to get a daily dose of nature built into their day, that their parents don't have to take them somewhere special. And instead, what they've got is bare, treeless spaces, often without even play structures.
Let me circle back to something you said just a moment ago, because I presume the assumption people have is that the public schools in the richest neighborhoods in this province must have the nicest playgrounds, but you've already told us that you found the best ones were in Sudbury. So what are they doing that deserves this special mention?
Well, I mean, we did find that there's a correlation, a statistically significant but not a very strong one, between richer schools and better playgrounds. Between the highest income schools and the bottom income schools in the province, and we did have a representative sample, what we see is about 1 standard deviation of difference. So there is a difference between rich and poor schools, but we think that other factors like public policy makes a difference. And one of the things that I think is really interesting in Sudbury is the key engaged role of the municipal government. So the municipal government in Sudbury has a ugliest schoolyard award every year. And when schools win the ugliest schoolyard award, they get a big investment in making things better. And that can include not only playground equipment and play provision, but also things to support active transportation, which makes a huge difference. Only 1 in 5 schools has a bike path getting there, and a third of them don't even have a bike rack. So it can be tree planting, it can be creating wild spaces, it can be play kits. But Sudbury's committed at both the municipal and the school level to working to make sure that these public spaces are better.
What, in your judgment, is preventing every other school board or municipal government in the province from doing the same thing Sudbury's been doing?
I think it's a matter of priorities. We have a lot of priorities for our kids, and one of the hardest things about education is that we need to do everything now. There's been a huge focus on literacy and numeracy as the only outcomes of our schooling system. We know that's overdrawn, but now how do we reorient and say, this is an essential piece? It's not the whole puzzle. There's no silver bullets, but it's an essential piece. And we're hoping to see a commitment to minimum standards. One school board talked to a journalist and told them, well, every school has at least one of courts or a play structure or a field. I don't think that's good enough.
In which
All
case,
the above.
So what would you like to see done?
Well, I'd like to see minimum standards. I'd like to see every elementary school have play structures, courts, and field access, at least supervised at recess so that kids can run around. and tree planting and bike racks. And let's see better cooperation to try and improve the access. I didn't talk about the 40% of schools, the almost 40% of schools with roads going faster than 40 kilometers an hour beside them. We've got a long way to go to support playgrounds that truly support children's health, but it is low-hanging fruit. We could achieve this. And I think there'd be political will to do it.
And I presume more important for the primary and elementary grades as opposed to the secondary grades to have this done, yes?
I don't entirely agree with that. You know, we have a bit of a cliff. When kids turn 13, they stop moving and get depressed, and we stop caring about their schoolyards. So I don't think it's the same things. I don't think we need play structures in our high schools, but I think figuring out what it is that does make a difference for high schools is a really important part. We need to really care about the health of our teens.
Well, I think your bringing this to our attention is going to help us do that, and it's clearly necessary.
I hope
so thanks for doing it. And thanks
I really believe it matters.
Amen. So thanks for coming onto the agenda tonight and telling us all about it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
That's Kelly Gallagher-Mackay, Assistant Professor, Faculty of Liberal Arts, Law and Society Program at Wilfrid Laurier University's Brantford campus.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is made possible through generous philanthropic contributions from viewers like you. Thank you for supporting TVO's journalism.